Good morning. It's morning by me. I wanted to talk about self-awareness today. I did a blog post yesterday on self-awareness because I really think it's honestly the most fundamental thing for being a bipolar person or somebody with depression or any kind of mental disorder. All the videos I do, I'm going to try not to edit because I want them to be authentic. I want them to be real. I don't want them to be edited. I want them to be coming out of my mouth as is. So I'm sorry if I do say some things that may be weird. I would check the description because I'll probably apologize there. But I want to talk about how I started my self-awareness journey that has led me to where I am today. Because if I didn't become self-aware, I would not be here. And I know that 100%. So with being bipolar, you have certain telltale signs when you're manic or when you're in a depressive episode that you don't really necessarily realize, but others around you realize. And also you may realize it after your manic episode. So I had a lot of telltale signs. My biggest telltale sign was my driving got very erratic when I was in an episode. To the point where I was almost getting in car crashes pretty often, and my heart would not skip a beat. I remember this one time I was driving and it was icy out and my car slid and it felt like the wheels even lifted up off the ground. And it didn't even make me nervous or whatever. And it did alert me in that moment. Like, why didn't that scare me? That should have scared me. So that's my biggest telltale sign for me personally. My other telltale sign is money. I would go and spend money like there was no tomorrow. It wouldn't even matter if I had the money because back when I was really bad, I was living paycheck to paycheck and my bank account often went in negative. But I'd spend every single penny I had. I would also close out the bar. I would get blackout drunk and not know how I got home and close out the bar. I also sometimes had a few sexual partners that I shouldn't have had. And I also didn't sleep, which I think is very common for all of us who are experienced episodes. I could go 72 hours without sleeping, and if I got an hour or two of sleep, I was right back at it. And it was great. I mean, I think if you have experienced bipolar, the manic episodes you kind of like. I mean, there's no denying it because you get shit done. You feel alive. Nothing scares you. You don't really have problems talking to people. It's a weird state of mind, and we all kind of like it, but it's not healthy for us. And especially when we come out of that episode, if you go into a really depressive episode after that, and you evaluate what you did in your manic episode, it could just make your depressive episode worse. So I think it's really important to figure out your telltale signs of what you're like when you're in an episode so that you can start to register that. Like, oh, my driving is a little erratic. Am I in an episode? Oh, I am spending money on some things that I don't need to be spending money on. Am I in an episode? So I also think what I did was I told all the people closest to me my telltale signs. And I asked them that if they noticed that I was doing any of these, and they couldn't tell me about my driving really. That was something I had to realize. But I asked them to tell me if they saw me exhibiting any of these behaviors so that I would become aware that they thought I could be in an episode, which, makes you, as a person in an episode, you don't want to hear that. And you don't believe it. But if you start to be able to trust the people around you and you're like, okay, maybe I am in an episode. Maybe I do need to cool it. Maybe I do need to stay at home 3 or 4 nights this week and not go out. So I think that was a big thing, is letting the people around me know that I wanted them to let me know, and that I wasn't going to get offended. And by the way, I did get offended sometimes. I was like, how dare you think I'm in an episode? I'm doing great. I'm so productive. No, I wasn't, because, a couple weeks later when that depressive episode hit, it was always bad. So through self-awareness, I was able to start realizing my triggers. I realize that when I am in an episode, I drink more, which then just makes me more depressed in the end. So I don't know. Self-awareness is literally the key. And through self-awareness, I was able to become unmedicated, because I was still on medication when I was realizing this, because I was not consistent with my medication. I will fully admit that. And I don't think there are a lot of people who are consistent in their medication, or they stop taking it because they're feeling good, So I was still having episodes when I was medicated. I don't have episodes anymore, really. But if I do, I'm aware of it, and they're not that bad, if they even are. So I think that it really is up to you, the person, to realize that, sometimes we aren't normal, and sometimes things happen, and it's not, it's not anything fault to you. We just need to work a little harder on our mental health and how we do things compared to other people. And I'm not even going to say normal people, because we can't be normal, and I don't like that we're classified as not normal. So I would, start realizing what it is when you're in an episode that you do specifically. Do you stay up and not sleep? Do you smoke 2 times as many cigarettes? Do you go on Tinder and look for hookups? Are you always at the bar? Are you maxing out your credit cards? How are your sexual partners? Are you cheating? All these things are things to evaluate within yourself. And then once you realize what you do when you're in an episode, you can then become aware and be like, okay, I might be in an episode. I really need to calm it down. And then when you do that, you start to be better. The depressive episodes aren't as bad because you're not making as bad of decisions when you're manic. Again, everybody loves a good manic episode. You get shit done. But I promise you, I'm pretty healthy these days, at least I think so, and I'm getting shit done, and I'm doing a lot these days, and I don't need a manic episode to do that. So realizing within yourself what you do, talking to your family and friends is so, so important. Again, I did therapy, and another telltale sign is I didn't think I needed therapy. I would skip my therapy sessions because I was afraid that they, would figure me out. And that was a big telltale sign for me. So, figure yourself out. And then you need to apply that to your future. And, figure out why you do things you do. I mean, it is a chemical imbalance, right? So we don't really have too much control over it, but we do have control over realizing that we are doing these things. And so by taking over control, I was able to realize these things, and I stopped taking my medication. I was on 4 anxiety pills a day, and I was even taking Benadryl to help calm my anxiety. So I just cut that back slowly. I went to 3 to 2 to 1. I will admit that I didn't cut my other medication properly. And it was more of a matter of I turned 26 and I didn't have health insurance through my parents. So I know it was an unhealthy way. So I really encourage everybody to do it healthy and talk to your doctors. I will also say though, none of my doctors wanted me unmedicated. They all told me it couldn't happen and that I had to be medicated. So if that's the case and you say to your doctors like, hey, I kind of would like to be unmedicated and be a bipolar person through self-awareness and mindfulness, they'll probably tell you no. There's just not enough studies with it yet, but there are more and more studies showing that bipolar is best treated through mindfulness. And so it's not too late. It's never too late to get your life the way you want it and to be happy, because you deserve it. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to want to wake up in the morning and have a great day. You deserve to want to get out of bed. You deserve for your chest to not feel tight and for your face to not feel tingly and numb. You deserve to not have panic attacks, because life is just too stressful and that you don't know when these panic attacks are going to happen. You deserve to have the best life. And it is up to you. I can't stress that enough. It is completely up to you. The doctors are not looking for your best interest. I'm sorry. Maybe your parents are looking for your best interest, but they don't know how you feel inside. They can't, your friends don't. It is fundamentally up to you to change your life. And I promise, by becoming more self-aware, you will slowly get out of this vicious life cycle of manic and depressive episodes. And anxiety. I literally don't feel like I have much anxiety in my life anymore. And if I do, it's because, I opened a company, I'm doing a blog, I'm doing a YouTube now, or that's my anxiety. It's not like, oh, when am I gonna get more money, or when's my next panic attack, or when's my next episode gonna hit, or no one's ever gonna love me because I'm bipolar. It's up to you. It's up to you to change your life. And I promise your life could be great. It could be beautiful. You could literally love every single day. And be thankful that your disease didn't take over, because being a bipolar person, I think we all get suicidal tendencies or ideations, and luckily we're all still here, right? And unfortunately there's many who aren't. But don't let yourself become one of them, and know that life really is beautiful. So by becoming self-aware, you can realize your triggers, realize what you do when you're on an episode, and then hopefully you could make that decision if you think that you can be unmedicated. I am not lying when I say I've had less episodes while unmedicated than I did when I was medicated. So it is little steps. I did therapy constantly. I've done exposure therapy. I did CBT therapy. I've done ACT therapy. I listen to podcasts constantly. I listen to self-help books constantly. I work by myself, and I have for about 3 years now. And so I have the availability to listen to podcasts and books and all that all day long. And when you listen to positive things, you start to change your mindset, because also with living with mental illness, we're super negative people. We just have this voice in our head that tells us we're different and that we're wrong and that we're bad and that, tomorrow is too stressful and, God forbid, that thing we did 5 years ago. So by listening to a bunch of positive things, you can start to change your mindset. And mindset is everything. Again, I don't want to encourage people to just stop their medications or anything. It really is a process, and it's little baby steps at a time. You can't just go full on fledged unmedicated and expect your life to not kind of get chaotic. And I don't want anyone to, hurt themselves or hurt others because of my advice by any means. But I do want to see a world of people taking less medications, because I think that the doctors just prescribe them at this point. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. And, even talking about sleep medications, I took sleep medications every night to sleep because I couldn't sleep regardless, right? I never felt good the next day, ever, ever, ever. I actually went and saw my therapist a couple, 2 days ago, and she was like, maybe we need to get you back on sleep medication since you're having a little hard time sleeping. No. Sleeping medications are the worst. I told her, that's poison to my soul. So I started smoking marijuana. And smoking marijuana, and I did do it during the day. I will admit, 3 years ago, I was smoking it during the day. But over the last year, maybe year and a half, it's been mainly at night. And it was only to help me sleep and to take the pain of my day away. I am currently not smoking marijuana at night because I've realized that it just makes me think more negatively. So, I would consider that. If you are taking sleep medications, you're putting a chemical in your body. If you're really against marijuana, it's a plant that's grown from our earth. And so I would 100% say that plant is better than a chemical that you are putting in your body, because that chemical, it's reacting with other things, and we have no idea what it's really doing. So, there's just little steps that you can take to make your life better and to get off medication. I started using essential oils to get rid of anxiety. So if I knew I was going to have an anxious day, I could feel it in my chest, I would take a little thing of essential oils with me to work, and maybe one of the ones you rubbed on or something, and that helped for a while. I no longer do that either. So I have done little things that I no longer do that helped me get to this point. But I don't need that anymore. So I hope this was helpful. Sorry if I say a lot. And if you have any questions or anything, shoot me a comment, shoot me an email. I'm really happy to answer anything, because I believe we can be better, and I believe we are not our sickness. I used to say I'm bipolar, and no, you need to change that mindset and that wording. It's, you have bipolar, you are not bipolar. And so that does matter too, the way that you phrase things. And so be conscious of the words that you use, because your words and your thoughts do dictate your life. So if you think you're really sick, you're gonna be really sick. If you think you're mentally ill, well, you're mentally ill. If you think you're gonna have a terrible day, you're going to have a terrible day. If you think you're gonna have a panic attack, you're probably gonna have a panic attack. If you think that you could get through this day, you're going to be able to get through this day. If you think, I can be happy today, your chances of being more happy are so much more likely. Your thoughts really do dictate your life. So be aware of what you're putting in your mind. Be aware of the music you're consuming. Be aware of the books you're consuming. Be aware of the TV you're consuming. I don't even really watch TV anymore. I used to only listen to music all day, every day while I was working alone. Did nothing for me besides, be able to relate to those really sad and depressing songs. And so I changed it up and I went to podcasts and YouTube videos that were all motivational. And my life is pretty good these days. And I promise yours can be too. So I hope you all have a wonderful day. And until next time, bye.